Hey everybody, it's Liz. Welcome to our book club for tonight. And we're going to get started in just a moment. Just wanted to say a couple things before we get started because I can already tell this is going to be a wild and crazy night tonight. I've already been talking to Melanie. So, thanks for pitching in and doing posts for me while I have been so busy writing the third book in our Royal Air series. So I do appreciate that. I have 4 more days to write, and then I'm hoping so much I can get it finished in that amount of time. So thank you guys for keeping the chatter going in our group. I do appreciate that. Friday is cover reveal for Royal Surrender. So I hope you guys will come to that. I think it's going to be over in the Romance After Dark group. So if you'll pop over there, there's going to be giveaways and fabulous prizes most all day long going on. So I do hope you'll come over to that as well. I'll be posting more about it later. So let's go ahead and bring Miss Melanie. You know what? I don't really know. We're going to say Melanie Shawn and let her explain all this confusion to you. And here she is. Hi, Melanie.
Hello. Okay, there I am. I'm back. So I'm Melanie, and my sister is Shauna, and that's how we got the pen name Melanie Shawn. My last name is DeYounga. It doesn't really matter. It's difficult to pronounce from the way that it's spelled, so just Melanie is fine.
Well, I will have to admit,
But yes, that's how we landed on the pen name Melanie Shawn.
I did not know that Melanie Shawn was 2 people for a long time when I started reading your book. I didn't know you were 2 people.
Yeah. No, a lot of people don't. And honestly, when we first started out, we thought, oh, is that going to be weird for people? Should we not even say that we're sisters or, but actually people seem kind of fascinated with it. And it's kind of turned into like a little hook for us, something that people are interested in. So yeah, it's turned out pretty well. And Shauna does not like going live. She gets a little anxious with the sort of live on the spot type of a thing. So you will see her on camera sometimes, but not generally for anything live.
I can.
So I'm holding it down for Melanie Shawn.
Well, I can so
Whereas I have like a lot less of a fear of looking foolish. So if something comes up and I'm not prepared, I'll just be like, yeah, you're not going to really get a lot out of this answer, but this is the best that I can do. And I just kind of live with that and I'm fine with it. So.
Oh, it took me a long time to be able to come on to the lives and do this. So I can identify so
people
much.
Really like it though.
I still get so nervous, but I enjoy talking to you guys. I meet new friends all the time on here, so that's how I'm able to do it. So tell us a little bit.
You never really know where it's going to go, too.
Oh, that's true.
Sorry.
That is true.
I did one like Facebook group, like reader group Facebook Live, and we just ended up talking about Veronica Mars the whole time. So it's like you never know.
Well, let's talk about you and Shauna. Tell us how this came
to be. Well, so Shauna and I already owned a company together where we did traffic generation for companies and social media strategy for celebrities and public figures and companies. And that was really, really fun. Like we had so many like crazy good experiences doing that. One of the, like just for instance, was so with one of our clients, I got to go to, he was a musician and he was playing at like the big, like basketball sort of showcase thing they have before every season in Scottsdale. So I got to go to that and like go backstage at a bunch of stuff and meet all kinds of like basketball players that I don't follow sports, so I had no idea who they are. But that was pretty fun. And like one of the people that I did social media for was Adam Carolla's podcast. So one time I was there waiting for a meeting, and Nick Offerman from Parks and Rec was there waiting to tape a podcast. And so since we were both waiting, it was like just the two of us in the lobby, and we ended up just like chatting for half an hour, and like that was amazing. So there were cool experiences like that, but there was also the stress of any client could basically just let you go at any time. Your finances were never like solid type of a thing. Like a lot of things when you work for clients are outside of your own control. And we wanted to base our like more of the foundational like base of our business to be something that was a bit more within our own control. So Shauna already had a first look deal with Kensington at that time, but it was 2012, so self-publishing was really becoming a much bigger thing. And we realized that we had a skill that not a lot of other authors probably had, which was that we knew all about the ins and outs of paid traffic generation, of social media, of all of this stuff. So we thought, okay, so we're pretty sure we can write these books, and we definitely know that we can get traffic to them. So let's try it. And within, I would say 14 months, we actually were able to let go of all of our clients, and we had hired a staff member, and it's just kind of been, well, that's not to say that it's just been upward and onward from there. It's not true. It's sort of been like upward and onward from there in a very zigzag manner, as most anything with business is. But it's basically like gone from there, I'll say.
Gosh, sorry, my screen went out for just a moment.
Oh, and we're getting comments. I can see on the side there's comments.
That was good. Yes. Yeah, we'll get to them in a minute. But let me go ahead and tell them, because they're freaking out because I have the wrong name on the feed. I'll fix that later, you guys.
Yeah.
The problem is that Melanie and I got to talking before.
That actually is my real name.
Melanie. Melanie and I got to talking beforehand, and I totally forgot to change the name on the feed, but I promise you I'll change it as soon as the meeting's over. So it's okay. I know it. It's going to change. Okay. Sorry about that. My people take care of it. They were telling me something wasn't right, and I wasn't listening to them. So you guys just basically had a Cinderella
never let
story.
Two former educators start chatting. It'll go forever.
That's true. So you guys, it was really basically a Cinderella story then for you getting into writing.
Well, I mean, I would say yes, in many ways it was a Cinderella story, in the sense that we really hit jumping into self-publishing at the best possible time, I would say. I mean, and I would say maybe even like a year earlier would have been the absolute ideal time, but it was certainly not too late. And honestly, I would argue even now is not too late, because we still see big authors. I mean, Devney Perry, 3 years ago, when people were saying it's too late to start a career as a romance author, like nobody can, come to the forefront anymore. It's too crowded. And then up comes this amazing new author. So I would argue even now today is not still too late. It's just much, much, much more difficult than it used to be. So the timing thing was really, really key. But I wouldn't put us in the category of, there are people with like true amazing stories about like, I just hit publish and the next morning I woke up and we were #1 on Amazon, and I have no idea how that happened. It has definitely been a grind and continues to be a grind for us to be like very mid-list. Like our books will hit top 100 on Amazon if we work very hard to make that happen, but they've never been like top 10 on Amazon or anything. we're not hitting like USA Today with every release, nothing like that. So I would say our books do not launch huge, but they continue to sell consistently. And honestly, we kind of like it that way because there's very little fluctuation in our sales reports. They are very steady, but very reliable. And that's exactly what we wanted when we went into this business.
Definitely. So, how often do you guys release a book? Do you have a format of what you do? Or, like with me,
we aim for every. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're more important. Go ahead.
We aim for every 6 weeks. That is always our goal. But she and I both have health issues that sometimes get in the way. So it sometimes is as often as like 8 weeks, or we really aim for 6 weeks, and oftentimes we hit it, but it can stretch out to like 8 to 10 weeks in between. And so we write in series a lot too. Like we've never met a standalone, honestly. Even when we intend to, then we're like, but this character and that character, and so we're big series writers.
You can write, edit, and have a book ready to go in 6 weeks.
Well, we do definitely have a process. We have one of us is always working on a first draft, and one of us is always doing a second pass on the other one's first draft all the time. We constantly have that going. And then we have a standing monthly appointment with our editor. So we're just like feeding her something constantly all the time and getting something back. And sometimes that something is not going to release for 2 years or something like that. So it's not like we're just constantly always working on the next book, although oftentimes we are, I'm not going to lie. So that, and then we also have a person who works for us who handles like all of our vendor relations, all of our finances. And then we have another person who is our third business partner, who's our mom actually, that handles all of the formatting, all of the uploading. Shauna's husband does all of our covers. So, I mean, that's the other thing too, that we're not like many indie authors are a 1-person show. We're like a 5-person show, and 2 of us are actually writing. Do you know what I mean?
You have a team.
So it's, we can, yeah, exactly. So we can keep up a bit of a more punishing schedule, although still, I mean, that's the other thing too is, this is everybody that works for us. This is our full-time job. We are all working 8 or most times many more hours a day. So yeah, any one of us on our own would not be able to do that. So
tell me how you guys come up with such awesome titles.
Oh, that's funny. I never really thought about. A lot of times, well, like with the Southern Comfort series, I mean, the titles, we really came up with the titles before anything. We thought, wouldn't it be funny to do a series where all of the titles were names of drinks? That was really kind of the first thing we thought of out of anything in that series. Mm-hmm. But then a lot of times, especially if it's, like a set of 4 within Hope Falls or a set of 4 within Crossroads, then we'll know who the characters are beforehand because they've been being introed in the books before. Like coming up in Hope Falls is the girls that own the coffee shop, so we'll know who they are. And then we'll kind of try to think of titles, like 4 titles that go together that kind of speak to the like who the characters are or what's going on in the plot of that book.
I think the first thing that
and sometimes
we have a delay.
Oh, I was just going to say, and sometimes it's just a play on. I know that makes it difficult.
Maybe we need to hold up something when it's our turn to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in the classroom. I'll have the talking pencil. I'll have the talking pencil. It's my turn.
Okay.
No, I forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh, I was going to tell you the very first thing that I think I saw was I don't know if it was a podcast or if it was a YouTube video, and the title was Just the Tip.
Oh, yeah, we haven't put out one of those in a long time. Yes, that is so funny. There was actually a lot of debate between like whether that was actually a little too racy for our brand, but we thought it was funny. And with Shauna and I, like if something is funny, that is gonna trump everything. Like there's almost no argument that can overcome if we think something is funny. So yes, just the tip.
Yeah. I love
and the funny thing is like the tips have nothing to do with anything naughty. It's like just the tip stuff you can do with apple cider vinegar, you know, like stuff like that.
That's what I was trying to learn at the time, you know, everything that I could, and you gave a lot of good tips. So, but I love to walk.
Yeah, and I'm actually thinking.
Between
just like a almost too naughty. Yeah. Yes.
So that's me. My readers know this about me, I bet.
Yeah, so and I was actually thinking of I know it's the delay. It's so so at some point this month I am coming out with a program for aspiring authors called Author Success Roadmap. So I was actually thinking of transforming just the tip into like writing tips and, you know, like how to format a book and how to just like how to things with publishing. I thought that people might enjoy that. And it really is surprising how many things that even experienced indie authors just to have questions about, like website questions and just things that have nothing to do with the writing. People do not understand how much more you have to learn aside from just writing when you're an indie author, which I think is why a lot of people stick with traditional, even though there's just a lot more money to be made, especially if you have a previously built fan base in indie. But it's just a huge learning curve that it encompasses so many different facets of the business. And I really don't think people realize the scope of responsibility and learning that there is to do on that end of the business.
It's not just writing. You also have to be your marketer. You have to be your advertiser. You have to be good financial stuff. I mean, there is just so much that you just think it's writing. That's all it is, just writing. And I so wish that it was, but it's not. It's all the other stuff that I'm not good at, and I know this.
Yeah, this is probably a little bit too much in the weeds of business talk for like readers to be interested in, but a lot of times they are. And I would just say to readers, like that's just one more reason to you know, like really the indie authors that you love, that's just one more reason to like respect them even more, because it's just so much more that goes into it. And many times they're just like completely badass business women in addition to being awesome writers.
I have an absolutely incredible group, and they are so supportive. I could not be where I am at without this group. So
I love that.
They're awesome. But let's talk about you now, okay?
Okay, yes.
So let's talk about Panty Dropper.
Okay.
One thing I want to know before we get started. When does Reagan's book come out?
Well, Panty Dropper is Reagan and Billy's book. Sex on the Beach, which is Isabella and Jimmy's book, just came out a couple days ago. Then in about in 6 weeks we have
the sister. What was the sister's name?
Oh, Cheyenne.
Cheyenne, yes,
So
that's
there's
who I
the
was.
yes. So there's the three. So Cheyenne's book is going to be the last one. And so there's Billy and Jimmy's book is already out. Hank's book is the next one, and then Cheyenne, which there's already been hints dropped that it's going to be her and Cash. Like her and Cash have kind of had the bartender have kind of had a sort of Billy doesn't approve of it, but they've got a little blossoming romance going. And so there's also the mystery, the kind of ongoing mystery about Cheyenne's parentage that goes throughout the books. And so that's why Cheyenne's book is the sort of wrap up book, because Cash helps her to ultimately solve that mystery. So it's going to be pretty satisfying, I think.
So when
and then Hank has a great story too. Hank's is actually my favorite of the four of them, I'll admit. He's got I don't want to give away too much, but let's just say there's like a new single mom neighbor that moves in and kind of, he's kind of the gruff one, and it softens him up quite a bit. So yeah, and opens him up a lot.
So when are the other two coming out?
Well, we're trying to kind of alternate between, we're finishing up a couple of other series. So the next book we've got coming out is in our Wishing Well series, and then we'll have Hank's book, and then there will be another book in between, and then it'll be Cheyenne and Cash's book.
Before the end of the year, do you think?
Ooh, yeah, it would have to be. Yeah, I'm like, what month is it? It's July. Yes, it will be.
I hope so. Okay, I was looking at the.
Yes, Shauna keeps our editorial calendar, so she would know like the exact dates and everything. I'm very hazy on. So between Shauna and I am much more like sort of artsy, hazy, drifty kind of a thing. She is a keep the trains running on time sort of a person. So I just kind of relax and do what she tells me to do by the time that she tells me to do it. Ideally, I mean, I think she's probably listening to me from the other room going like, I wish that were true, but yeah, so she's the one that keeps the calendar and keeps the trains moving forward. I can say this honestly because I've been writing. Sorry, go ahead.
How do you guys write together? What's your process of writing together?
Well, we have tried so many different ways. At the very beginning, we used to, we still do plot the books together, but now we plot kind of more the beats together, and whoever's doing the first draft kind of fills in the beats with the exact scenes. We used to plot it scene by scene together. And then we used to assign scenes, who was going to write which scene. But that got to be, it got to be too complicated with just how many projects that we had on our plate. So what it's turned into now is two ways that we do it depending on which series. One is that one person will do a whole first draft of a book and then pass it off to the other person to do a second draft, and we will be working on different books and passing them back and forth. And then one is like Shauna is really good at the little moments between the characters that help them grow and evolve and help their relationship move forward, and that's a lot more subtle. I really like the meet cute and the grand gesture at the end. Like, I have a very cinematic thought process, so sometimes I will write the beginning and the end, like really write that out and just kind of sketch in the middle and she'll fill in the middle. That's a new thing we've started experimenting with. We haven't like really gotten comfortable with that, but it might work out. I mean, Stephen King and his son, when they write together, they actually do this thing that I'm like, I don't even know how they could, but I think it's kind of cool, where Owen, the son, will write like the first 500 words of the scene and the last 500 words of the scene, and then send it off to Stephen, and Stephen will like get it from the beginning to the end. Like, he'll fill in what happens in the middle. And like, people have so many different ways, but what we do is basically for practicality, like how we can have the most streamlined process at this point. So yeah, we pretty much do first drafts and second passes.
Okay.
But we really were able to do that because at the beginning, I would say maybe like the first year or even 2 years, we were really hammering out what is the Melanie Shawn voice, because there's a Venn diagram of what our individual voices are, and the Melanie Shawn voice is kind of where it overlaps. So we were really hammering down what fits within Melanie Shawn and what doesn't. Once we both got a really solid idea of that, and we both just know exactly what that voice is, it's a lot easier to just do full drafts and pass it off to the other person to do a second draft.
Right. So when you write, do you write pretty much finished, or do you just do like the basic outline type of writing the first draft?
Shauna does a lot more of a finished draft than I do. She passes off to me things that are much closer to publication ready, because I will pass off to her like probably like an 80% of a draft, and then I'll just have notes to her inside of like where I was stuck or because she is, I would say, a lot more of a romantic than I am. Like, she's a lot more willing to like really dive into like those emotionally intense moments where the characters are vulnerable together. Like, I'm a lot more plot driven, I would say, and less emotion driven. So I just kind of leave those things for her to fill in, like the sweet stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I love like the, like if there's ever a part of one of the books you notice where one of the characters stops and gives like a big sort of Shonda Rhimes-esque speech to the other character, that was probably me. I love those sort of like very public, like declarations and stuff like that. But like the smaller, more intimate moments, for whatever reason, that's just not my personality. So she does those a lot better than I do. So I kind of leave a lot of that for her.
That's why your books are so well rounded, and that they have both of those types of moments in them. So you get a much fuller reading experience because of that. How can I get my sister?
And I'm also the driver of most of the sarcasm. I'm also the driver of most of the like sarcasm and banter in the books. So if there's in the Hope Falls series, there's a thing like a running joke where the ladies get together for, it's ostensibly a book club, but it's really a drink, wine, and gossip club. And so like I really am the one that kind of drives most of those, and just like sarcastic back and forth dialogue. That's kind of my thing.
Well, we have some questions from Melissa. Says you both have your own strengths that you bring to the team. So yes, you do. You both have
agreed.
You both have created a system that works for you like a well-oiled machine. I guess you would have to find a good system that works for you both.
That's true. And I would not suggest just anybody decide to go into a writing partnership. The first thing that you need is to understand that you both have a very similar sense of what you like in a story. And Shauna and I knew there's two things we already knew together going into being a writing team is we had been reading books and talking about them, seeing movies and talking about them. I mean, since we were little kids. So we really understood that we had very similar senses of story and what we liked in a story. And you really could not go into a writing partnership without understanding that about the other person. And then we also knew we had already owned a business together for 3+ years. So we knew that we could work together. And that's another thing that I don't think a lot of people know about a partnership before they actually jump into it, is whether they'll actually work well together. It's a very intense, when you're creating art with somebody and you both have kind of your hearts in it, that can be really intense to come to when you both have different visions and to settle on what the final product is going to be, that can be a really intense process if you don't already know that you're dealing with someone who has 90% the same sensibilities as you do. So that's something I would caution, because it can sound very appealing, like, oh man, they split up all this work, they're able to, and that's all the things that we love about it. But I think that Shauna and I have a very unique situation that I don't know how many people would have someone in their life that they would be able to start something like that up with.
Well, you have to have a lot of trust, and you have to have a lot of the ability to compromise, I would imagine.
Oh, 100%. Yes, absolutely.
Debbie said,
and I mean, I was going to say, we really, at the beginning, I really wanted to like fight for even just every down to the word that I really felt like belonged in there. And after, 60 plus some odd books, you really just see like that you need to let this person have this one, and then you'll get another one. And it just becomes much more of a smooth, you just really get used to the back and forth and the negotiating a lot more. And it's like when you're on your fourth book, everything seems so do or die. But when you're well into it, you really see that like there's a long career ahead of you, and there will be many, many more chances to get your point across.
Debbie says that she loved Kevin Bacon in the book.
Oh, yeah. And I actually was so bummed out because now I don't even remember who it is, but I actually did find out that there is a famous person who has a potbelly pig named Kevin Bacon. And I found that out just within the past couple of weeks or so. And I'm like, I don't know what honestly made me think that we were the first person in the world that ever thought of that like very obvious joke. But I was very disappointed to find out that we weren't.
Well, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. Let's see. Sue or Karen wants to know, who is the naughty one? I'm assuming.
Oh, between Shauna and I? Huh. That's tough to say. I mean, I would honestly say both of us, and we're actually putting a video together. We're going to get back into our YouTube a little bit more, doing like funny video blogs together. And one that we're going to do is have a bunch of people send in questions about who would be more likely to fill in the blank, and then we have to answer for each other. But as far as which one of us is the naughtier one, I would say I probably have a more blue sense of humor. But as far as how far we go in the books, I would say both of us are pretty equal. Like that, it doesn't, I mean, people do think that it's weird that we're sisters and we write these very explicit scenes and then read what the other one wrote. But I really blow their mind by letting them know that both our mom and dad actually proofread the books before they go out. I mean, it's honestly just, and my dad is so funny. It probably bothers my mom even more than it does my dad, because my dad is he's former military. His attitude toward it is very much like, there will not be an error that goes out on my watch. Like that's his overriding feeling about proofreading the books. But I mean, it's kind of to the point now where we all just really think of it so much as a business. You know what I mean? It's just bodies. We're all adults. Like, who cares?
Exactly. However, my daughter has still not read any of my books, but I'm okay with it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's actually super easy to skip sex scenes though too, because it's pretty obvious when they're going into it. You just like sort of flip forward a little bit. You're like, oh, they're having breakfast. Great, I'm back.
Another question, how do you keep from getting confused writing a book every 6 weeks?
Oh, we don't keep from getting confused at all. We 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 were seriously just about to hit publish on Panty Dropper. In fact, when Shauna came out, she goes, "Did you realize that we actually have another character named Billy who is in Hope Falls and is going to be one of the heroes of the next 4 books?" And I was like, no, I didn't remember that. But finally, we were just like, that really needed to be his name because of his personality. We tried to think of other names, and then we were just like, you know what? There's more than one Billy in the world. I don't know what to tell you. Like, they're just both going to be Billy. But one of our people that works for us keeps a Bible that is very up to date with all of our characters and the details, their appearances. I mean, like, we have a lot of mistakes probably still strewn throughout our books, where in one book somebody has blue eyes and in another book they have green eyes. Like, no, we're not good at not getting confused about stuff like that. Even with the Bible, you have to check the Bible in order for it to work. So often that doesn't happen. And yeah, no, we do get confused. That's not something we've ever mastered.
Lord, writing that many books.
And sure we are very amazed by.
Go ahead.
We're so amazed by authors who are able to keep everything straight about all of their characters and all of their worlds, and especially like some of these paranormal authors or sci-fi fantasy, where they've created like these intricate worlds and they know everything about it, and we're just like, oh my God, no, we would struggle to even remember what the planet was that all this took place on. No, it's not us.
Yeah, that's why I said I can never write paranormal, because I could never keep all that straight. I couldn't build a world. I have to live, I have to live in my world.
Yeah. Yes.
Karen said it's wonderful that your parents read your books. And she said, my husband's grandmother always said the younger generation didn't invent sex. Yeah.
True. Yes.
Oh, goodness. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? This is asked.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So lately, with everything being kind of shut down, and I mean, with having a job where I don't really need to leave the house, and I'm trying to be extremely responsible and not leave the house, except for my dog is sitting next to me on the couch. So I am taking her to the dog park, but I try to take her to this one near us that's generally kind of empty. But yes, my wanderlust has been driving me crazy, and it seems like all I do is Google flights that I'm not going to get on and just sort of imagine that I'm going places. But I studied abroad in Italy, and I've really wanted to go back since then. So I would probably make it a return trip to Italy and kind of traveling around Europe from there.
Wow. I bet that's a beautiful area. Have you got that in any of your books?
Oh, so gorgeous. No, because I've thought about it actually, and the reason why is because so it was the summer of 2000 that I studied there, and I'm just not confident enough in the Italian skills that I have left to sprinkle Italian into the book. And if it was taking place there, you would definitely hear people speaking Italian. And also the culture. I mean, when I was there, they were still using lira, and now everything's the euro, which was something that I honestly swore would never happen, that Italians would agree to just not have their own money independent of, because their culture is so important to them. So that actually shocked me when that happened. I haven't even been there since the euro's been in effect. And it's like, there were not even really like cell phones in wide use when I was there. We had to get these little phone cards. There was this one card called the Tiger card, and it was a phone card that had a picture of a tiger on the front of it that was $10 and you could talk for 30 minutes and it was international. So we'd all go get these Tiger cards and talk to our parents for 30 minutes a week. And so, I mean, it was like a very different world when I was there. And I think I would need to go back to sort of refresh my idea of what it's like there now.
What are you currently reading?
Oh gosh, well here, let me pull up my Audible. So I listen to books pretty much exclusively. I actually just started my book that I was listening to. So I'm listening to Spirits, Pies, and Alibis, which is this paranormal cozy mystery by Nicole St. Clair. It's a new author to me, but I'm enjoying it a lot. And then, I don't know how to sort it by just what's in my... Okay, and then I'm re-listening to The Patient by Stina Holmes, which is a psychological thriller. And then I am listening to Southern Magic, which is another paranormal cozy mystery. And I am listening to Girl Stop Apologizing by Rachel Hollis. And I'm listening to a lot of cozy mysteries right now. And I'm listening to Read, Write, Love by Melissa Foster, and then Read, Write, Love at Seaside by Addison Cole, which is like the cleaned up version of it, because I was just kind of interested to see how those would be. I'm listening to always like 10 books at a time. So that's the other thing.
I don't think I could keep that many straight.
Yeah, I've really been into cozy mysteries a lot lately. I think that's happening to a lot of romance readers, though, that they're getting into cozies. I've always loved cozies since I was like a teenager, but I think a lot of readers are trying out a genre that's just kind of slightly adjacent to their normal genre, because I think people are reading a lot more with being in shutdown.
Yes. Karen wants to know what your favorite city in Italy is. She said hers is Venice.
I actually did not make it to Venice when I was there, unfortunately. I was based out of Florence, which I love. And then we did travel down to see like, oh God, this is my ADHD. I can never remember like names or places or whatever, but the volcano in the south of Italy is very famous. And yes. And
not Vesuvius.
Yes. And we saw like all the people kind of encased in ash, and I mean that was really sad, but it was a very weird and surreal but just awesome thing to have seen. But then I think my favorite trip that I took in Italy was up to Le Ricci and their Cinque Terre, which is like these 5 towns that you can hike between, and they're all kind of, it's the Italian Riviera, but it's Portofino is up there, and gosh, it was just so beautiful up there, and just like amazing food and just the ocean. And yeah, I would go back and spend a summer there anytime.
Wow.
But I mean, Tuscany, where I was living, was also very, very, very beautiful.
I'm sure you didn't test any wine while you were there, did you?
Quite a bit. And in the south of Italy, they actually have limoncello, which is, it's basically like a lemon meringue pie that you drink, and it's so good. And it's definitely one of those that does not taste like alcohol, so you can just be destroyed before you even realize that you've had that much, because it tastes like one of those lemon drop hard candies.
Oh my. I've never tasted it, so now I'm interested.
It's so good.
Marisol wants to know, do you type or dictate?
So Shauna types exclusively. I've tried to introduce her to the magic of dictating. She is too embarrassed to hear her own voice saying the words. But I am a real hippie when it comes to stuff like that, which is, or maybe maybe I'm a Quaker. It's however the spirit moves me on that day. I will type, I will dictate. I've got this piece of software. It's an app and a software on my Mac that I've been using lately called Just Press Record, which is sort of, so with Dragon, you can dictate and the words will appear on the screen, or you can actually just tape into like a dictaphone and then have it transcribe the whole thing. And I have not ever really liked either one of those, because when I just dictate into a dictaphone without seeing the words, I get lost where I am in the scene. I kind of get lost where I am in the conversation. Like, has this person said this thing that I needed them to say already? Or, you know, was I just thinking that, or did I actually say it? But when I'm actually seeing the words in real time, it distracts me and it makes me want to go back and make corrections, and it slows me down. So Just Press Record to me has been like a very perfect bridge, because so you push the button and then you record however much of it you want. So I do usually like 2 or 3 minutes worth, which ends up being about 200 to 400 words, depending on how fast I'm talking. And then you just hit stop and it just transcribes it within the app right there. And you can transfer it. Like, I use Noveler to organize my novels. So you just transfer it in there right there. And then you can kind of see the scene and kind of gear up to what part you want to do next, and then do the next 300 or 400 words and kind of move through it like that. So that's my favorite thing that I've been using lately.
That's always been my problem.
Whereas with Dragon,
that's always been my problem.
I was just going to say with Dragon, yeah. And with Dragon, it wouldn't really be feasible. Yeah. With Dragon, it's such a process to get that MP3 from the dictaphone into Dragon, have it transcribed. It's just so much more of a process that doing that every 200 to 400 words just wouldn't really be feasible. But with this, it just records and transcribes right within the app, and then you just push one button to copy it over to Noveler, whatever it is you use, Scrivener, whatever. That it just makes the whole process really smooth, and I've been loving it lately. Because I also like to go out and write. You know, in the past, I used to love to type in coffee shops, but now I just kind of go drive my car to a pretty place and then use my phone, and I can use Just Press Record on my phone. So
I'll have to try that. I have it written down. I'm going to try it. Because that's always been my problem.
And the other thing. Oh, I was just going to say, it's much, much more affordable than Dragon too, because Dragon, depending on, I mean, it can cost like up into the hundreds of dollars depending on the version that you get. And Just Press Record is $2.99 for the app and $4.99 for the desktop software. So it's, I mean, you're looking at less than $10 for the app and the software. Yeah.
Wow. That's a huge difference. Yeah. And my thumb is getting sore. I've been pushing, trying to get a book finished before next Friday, and my thumb is hurting.
Oh, from typing or from dictating?
Yeah, from typing. Typing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's see. Which of your characters is the most like you?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably the second book in the Hope Falls series. There's a girl, Karina, who is just very, very sarcastic and very to herself with her emotions. Like, it's hard for her to be vulnerable and let her emotions out. She covers a lot of that with sarcasm. And I would say I was drawing quite a bit on myself when I wrote her.
Oh, Jeannette.
And it's funny because the first book, I was going to say the character in our first book, the one that immediately preceding that, Amanda, is very like nurturing and caretaking and puts other people first. And that is a lot like Shauna. So I would say we kind of drew on the two of us heavily for our first two heroines.
Wow. That's awesome. Jeannette Winters has popped in to our show, and she says that she wants to try the software as well. So,
Oh, it's so good. I love it so much. And you're only risking like $3 or something if you try it. So I just love it so much.
but it's not for PC. It's only on Mac.
It's only on Mac. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that the app is only on iOS and not Android. Yeah, so that's unfortunate.
That's always the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Someone asks, oh, where'd the question go? Do you have a favorite character that you've written?
Well, I will say I do have a very special place in my heart for the heroines of our first 4 Hope Falls books. They were friends from the time they were kids. They have a nickname for themselves called the Fabulous Four. And I do think in part that is it's nostalgic because those are our first 4 books. And it was just like everything was kind of ahead of us at that point. We had so many plans and we were so just like optimistic about everything that this could bring to us. So I do think that there's an element of nostalgia there, but I do also think that they are 4 very specific archetypes, which is like the caretaking one, the snarky one, the like sort of naive, sheltered one, and then the like boss babe businesswoman one. And I just think those 4 archetypes really play well off of each other too. And I also, for whatever reason, I always have been really fascinated around fiction that has groups of 3 or 4 women character friends. So things like the Golden Girls or the Joy Luck Club or stuff like that. And so I just think like their relationship to each other, I find really fascinating. And it's actually been in the back of my mind for a long time that I should write a cozy mystery spin-off series about the 4 of them where they solve mysteries together that happen in Hope Falls. And I think that would be really fun.
That would be very
Shauna's not really a mystery girl. That would be my project, but yeah. And then Penny Reed has actually just done that. She spun one of her couples off to a cozy mystery series. And I was like, see, it can be done. Now I can't do it.
Oh, let's see. Another question is, Karen says that Siri has a lot of problems recognizing her accent. So with my accent, this program that you told us about might have trouble understanding me.
Yeah, that's possible. I hadn't thought about that because Dragon does have that machine learning aspect where it gets to know your voice better the more you make corrections. I mean, I just have that sort of flat nothing accent that I think most machines are made to recognize, so I never really run into that problem.
Well, I'll just tell you that there's not very many that can understand what I'm saying. Siri is not my friend. She never understands me. When I tell her to text somebody, she never does. And then my husband can just say it right off, and she does whatever he says.
Well, I do think they recognize male voices easier too. I think it's something about like the tone and the lower timbre of male voices makes it easier for machines to recognize to separate the syllables. But my grandmother, my Oma, had a very, very thick Dutch accent. She immigrated from Holland as an adult, and by the time she passed away, well into her 80s, she had still not shaken this extremely thick Dutch accent. And she was not really around for when there were machines that needed to recognize what you were saying. But based on how she got frustrated when just regular people could not understand what she was saying, I can only imagine that there would have been hilarious instances where she would have gotten angry with Alexa or whoever for not recognizing what she was trying to say.
Yes. Alexa has problems with me too. And then she asks me, did this answer your question? And I'm like, no, it did not.
No.
Oh,
that's hilarious.
What was your favorite part to write in Panty Dropper?
Well, the Farmstrong. I think the Farmstrong scene was pretty fun because that is a concept that really cracked both of us up, is like this guy who has figured out this slick way to make all these ladies pay him to do his chores. I don't know, for whatever reason, that just really cracked both of us up. So.
That was a good one. Okay, so we are almost at the end of our time. Tell us what's coming up. What for Melanie Shawn?
Okay, so the next book that we have coming out is in our Wishing Well series, and it's Jackson's story. I don't remember what we decided to title it, but all of those have a verb in front of the name. So if I'm not mistaken, it's Loving Jackson, but we might have settled on something else. But Jackson's story in Wishing Well is going to be next, and then it will be Hank's story, which so the last two Southern Comfort books are Afternoon Delight and Between the Sheets. So I believe Hank's story is Afternoon Delight, and then Cheyenne's story is Between the Sheets, but I could have those two mixed up. I'm not a detailed person. But so at any rate, and then we'll be going back and finishing Hope Falls, and I know that there are plans beyond that, but like I said, Shauna keeps the editorial calendar, so
she tells you just what you need to know, right?
And we always come out, yes, and we always have a Christmas either novella or novel that's kind of like a special thing that we do every year. And this year, our Christmas book is going to be in Hope Falls, and I think it's going to be a special one. I think people are really going to like it. It's I will let the cat out of the bag. Not many people know this, but I don't know how many people have read Hope Falls, but there's a recurring character that's the pastor of the small church there, and people have been wanting him to get his story for a long time. So it's his story.
How wonderful. Oh, that's great.
Yes.
I can't wait for that. That'll be awesome. Let's see. Let me run through and see if I can find any more questions. It's
going to be different. It's going to be a little bit of a different one, too. It's going to be much... I actually kind of hate the phrase clean romance because I don't like the implication that other romance is like dirty romance, but it's going to be clean. It's going to involve faith themes. It's going to be a heroine who has gone through a lot of abuse in her past and doesn't believe that she's worthy of faith and love and God. And he's going to, and then we're going to find out he has some things in his past that have gone on, and he's going to have a real spiritual reawakening, and they're going to, it's going to be like different than most of our Melanie Shawn books, but wow. I've been working on it already. Shauna, this is an unusual one where Shauna and I are really both involved in the early stages of it. Usually one person kind of runs with a concept they're excited about, but we've been working on it together, and I think it's going to be special. I hope people like it.
I can't wait for it. It sounds wonderful.
And that's no title yet.
No title, but it's coming out around Christmas.
Yeah, we're going to try to get it out like October, early November, so it has a good long run before Christmas.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Melanie, for being with us tonight. This has just been wonderful getting to know you. And
not at all. This was very fun.
let's see. I want to make sure I've got everybody's question. There's a little bit of a delay for questions, so if someone has asked something that I did not get to tonight, I'll make sure Melanie gets the question answered and posted for you.
Yeah, great. Oh, and I did want to say, I know, so I have a couple live in Hawaii, and I know that they have like a hurricane headed their way. So if anybody's in Hawaii, be safe. And I'm thinking about you.
Oh my goodness, I haven't heard that. We've just had extremely high temperatures here. Where are you at, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, Bay Area of California. About a half an hour outside San Francisco.
That's why we have such a delay, is because we're so far apart.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Hang out for just a minute. I'll be right back, Melanie, okay?
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
We will see everybody next month. I did want to tell you who our featured author is going to be for next month. We're going to be welcoming Dylan Crush onto our readers group next month. And the title of the book is The Cowboy Says I Do. I think that's her latest release. So that's going to be our featured book, The Cowboy Says I Do. And I will have the links and everything up on the group page and also on our Facebook page for you, okay? So that's it for tonight, everybody. Good night.